Okay, Coach, go ahead. Just give us a wrap-up of this weekend and what are your thoughts moving forward towards Western Oregon this Saturday?
Yeah, obviously, had a little trip to Oregon, and I tell everybody it was kind of an extra medium type game where you weren't overly excited about how you played, but you weren't really bummed either. I think there were a lot of things that we can correct. It's kind of like one of those first games. It's probably probably status quo for how you want those games to go. You're not overly excited about it. You're not disappointed with the performance. It's just we learned a lot, and I thought on both sides of the ball we learned a lot too, and we were able to get what we wanted to get out of it. Didn't have a whole lot of injuries. Got a couple guys nicked up, but we should get them back, not necessarily long-term things. I got a lot of reps for guys in the 1 and the 2 deep to help us make some decisions there, and it's just I love our guys. It's good to see them compete. You just got to verify that our guys are going to compete and they're going to support and take care of each other. But there's a lot to learn that we need to clean up going forward.
Floor's open.
Obvious question is, what's the status of the quarterback situation?
Yeah, so Kobe's going to start. Kobe Tracy's going to start. I think, I watched the game and both the stats, the coaches, and I think probably anybody who watched the game just kind of felt like he showed the most poise, which is what you're going to get from the senior guys. And, Kobe was slightly ahead of JC in all the metrics in fall camp. But I know for me, just having been a quarterback and trying to do the right thing by the program, I think you want to give everybody a fighter's chance. And like I said, JC deserved to start because he prepared his butt off and he did a good job. And it was really close in camp, but it's kind of, when it's close, the tie goes to the runner kind of thing. And so we told Kobe that, hey, you outplayed him. You did everything you could have in fall camp, but you didn't you didn't overthrow the Cuban government like some people have been using those memes on social. But but I think watching the game, it was pretty clear. I don't think it was close when we watched the game that just Kobe had more poise in there. And we knew that he was going to have some experience and that was going to kind of be the feather in his cap. But it wasn't just on paper. I think the guys could kind of feel it, guys on offense and defense. And we got to a point in the game there where if we would have gotten a stop and it would have been a little bit closer, we would have kept Kobe in. But after that, we said, hey, we're gonna let these guys roll. We told them that they would play. And even, the mistakes that Sharman and Kobe made were not necessarily an awful the interception by JC was, and then the sack that we took on the RPO was kind of egregious. But, Sharman's was kind of a protection thing, and he was a little deep on his drop. And if you clean those things up, you got a touchdown pass instead of an interception because Raiden was open. But, I think all the quarterbacks did a really good job. Obviously, we still love JC. We love all those guys. And I think as we clean up the quarterback battle and are able to throw more reps at Kobe, you'll see higher efficiency from him in the offense, and then we'll be able to use Hunter in more creative ways that we kind of planned on when you're not trying to give everybody reps to decide the battle.
So I know that one of your concerns is, Kobe only has 1 year left, and you don't want to run off other guys. You want to keep them engaged. At what point do you have to say we're going with Kobe?
Yeah, we're going with Kobe. Like that's what it is. And I think 1 year guys it's probably a risk that everybody in America runs into now. And you'd love to have a platform to build from. But I think the positives on there, JC has a redshirt year, so Jordan Cook could redshirt this year and still have 2 years of eligibility because we told him even last year he was a young pup playing football, and he's still got a bright future ahead of him. And I think the good thing about Jackson Sharman, Jackson Sharman and Hunter Hayes, they're all buddies with Kobe, so they kind of just walk around together. I think it kind of fires Sharman up because it knows, all right, well, I can learn from Kobe because he has a lot of experience throwing the football, and maybe then I'll be ready when he departs. And for Hunter, just knowing that, hey, there's a guy that, there's lots of where JC was relatively athletic. Kobe's probably not as mobile, but he's a better passer. So I think it really carves out a clear, definitive role for everybody in that you kind of have Kobe, you have, a couple potential incumbents, and then you have Hunter, who's kind of your wildcat, special package kind of guy. So they all know their role. It creates some clarity for the team in the quarterback room to get behind.
You got a whole bunch of quarterbacks. And guys also that haven't played, like 5th and 6th guys, you've got a commitment, we're told, from a quarterback in California. At what point do you have too many quarterbacks?
No, you're right. I think to me, you have too many quarterbacks when you're giving too many quarterbacks reps. And that's kind of what you saw in the Oregon State game. Like, yeah, in the Oregon State game, you have too many quarterbacks. But I think in order to do the right thing by guys, when you talk to people and tell them you're going to let it be a competition, you want things to be decided on the field, you want to give them an opportunity. It'd be different if we were like some of these Power 5 schools that you had to play a conference game to open up the season. Then you'd be a little bit more intentional about, oh my gosh, we got to get this figured out now. But, we have a couple games. We got four non-conference games, so you have a little bit of time to get rolling. So we were probably less urgent, and I was probably a little bit more lenient from a coach standpoint, trying to do, maybe the nice thing by the quarterbacks rather than trying to make any, hard, tough decisions that might make people angry too early on. But I think now we know this is the right decision for our football team where we're going to go. But there are a lot of guys, even though we had 5th and 6th, I mean, it's tough for those young guys because we told them that, you're going to earn reps as a young guy. You're going to earn reps in the off season. You're not going to earn reps in fall camp. That's why in the fall camp we have those separate practices, so we're able to have those young guys get a lot of reps. Between Harsin and Brett Spencer, they got a lot of reps in those. But when you're going to team reps, they learn as much as they can. They get reps in the individual periods, and then they operate the scout team. But I think the too many quarterbacks is really, it's not necessarily a roster size, it's the rep split. And if they know their role and they're okay with it, then I think you're going to be okay. I think obviously 7 is heavy, but we kind of wanted to push JC and Sharman, see if we could find somebody that might help us just be 2-3 percentage points better, and Kobe's help us do that. So we're going to roll with Kobe, and then in the future we probably won't have 7, but there's a chance that, you might have 2 the way the portal is now, because guys want to play and anybody can leave at any time. So that's one position where you don't want to be shorthanded, that's for sure. But you got to be conscious about the reps you're giving guys.
Cody, you just played one money game. Now we have the opposite. You're playing a non-Division 1 team. How do you keep the guys maybe focused and serious about the game going outside of it?
I think you just got to understand. Western Oregon, they've had some success before. They beat Sac State in 17, I think. Obviously played Portland State really close in 21. And Division II teams now, it's a wild card just because, I know they have a couple Power 5 transfers on their team that we don't have tape of and we don't know what they're playing, but they're on their team. Because nowadays with so many guys in the portal, there are a lot of guys falling through the cracks. They're going to have some athletes. And you watch them on tape, their linebackers are bigger than ours. They got some safeties that can play, and they got a couple Power 5 skill guys who are legitimate. Their offensive line all returns, their tight ends all returns. So just from a run game standpoint, obviously you could see that the size of Oregon State really wore on us in the second half up front. And that's, Western Oregon has some size. Do we have more scholarships than them? Yes. Do we have way more better players than they do? You can't say, because there's a lot of talented football on the West Coast. There's not that much scholarship football on the West Coast, and Western Oregon can count themselves in that vein. So we know they're going to be ready to play. It's their first game. They have a lot of tape on us. And obviously, Aaron Ferguson has been there for a long time and has done a really good job. So he'll have his guys dialed. They have a lot of returners that are physical, and they're going to end up breaking in a new quarterback. So they're going to lean on the run game, and we know that's a place we got to work on.
I was going to ask Cody, how do you prepare for a team in a smaller division, and they haven't played yet this year? How do you handle that?
Yeah,
where do you get your information?
The division has absolutely nothing to do with it. You're going to prepare for this Packers the same way as you prepare for Pocatello High School. You're going to watch the tape, you're going to do the breakdowns, and you're going to do everything that you can. You're not going to cut meetings short, you're not going to do less because of who you're playing. We want to play darn good football, and our guys need to get in the habit of making the adjustments that we're going to see is, hey, this is our wing adjustment this week. This is our third down adjustment this week. This is our blitz package. These are our route adjustments. This is the coverage we expect to see. So our guys got to handle our business. And, I always tell the guys the Bengals are playing the Bengals, and we got to hold ourselves to our standard every week. That's the biggest point. Not having tape, it's kind of the same thing with Oregon State. They did a lot of stuff that we hadn't seen on tape before because they got 20 new starters out of the portal, and they got new coaches and two new coordinators. So you got to adjust, and obviously they made some adjustments in the second half and physically took advantage of us. So it's going to be a similar situation for us where we know we're going to have to make adjustments on the sideline, and we kind of know what we think they might do, but you can't say for certain because you haven't seen any proof in the pudding. So we'll try and focus on stuff that we can do well. We'll obviously try and fix corrections from last week where we had deficiencies on all sides of the ball. Where we would see, hey, they have this in their arsenal. This is probably something they would exploit, whether it's stretch or pin pull or certain pressures that the previous team had success with. So we'll shore those up and then just do our best to go out and take care of our assignment and adjust on the fly.
How'd you feel your offensive line played off?
Man, I thought they did a really good job. Just Oregon State, they're big and they're talented up front. And really, if you look at the sacks, the one sack was the quarterback's fault, where we had a guy open and we didn't throw it on time. And you know you're going to get hit, but sometimes when teams bring pressure, they can bring an extra hat. That's allowed in football, but you just got to get the ball out. And we got to make sure that we're on our adjustments like that. And then the other sack was a quarterback scramble where he just kind of fell over and tripped over himself and was behind the line. But to play a team like Oregon State and ID pressures the way that they did, now we weren't perfect. We had some stuff where the running back cleaned it up for us, but really proud of those guys. I thought both Will Davis and Jordan Miller and Ty Hyde, like all three of our tackles, played pretty darn well. Obviously, we got some competition at the guard spot that we got to shore up. Alex Ramirez, unbelievably impressed with him. His leadership and poise and his development since he's been here has been pretty incredible. So excited about the offensive line and excited to see them continue to develop because, sometimes your first live bullets as a unit, you learn a lot. So hopefully we see a lot of improvement as we keep going, but proud of them for sure.
Cody, go ahead, sir.
Maybe not the final score probably wasn't indicative of how competitive the game was against Oregon State. Say that one or two plays go differently and it's a much closer game, and how do you convert on those, make those a few plays?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the details. I'm not a fan of the saying little things because there are no little things, and that's where you kind of see us talking today. Wednesday's a day where you have a lot of detail going in. It's third down and red zone, and you just really have to harp on the details and make sure that guys are preparing for every single circumstance. Even if you don't see it in practice, they got to know, what's my unbalanced check? What's my 3-by-1 check? Or for us, hey, what do we do versus man? What do we do versus zone? Because, like you said, hey, the one interception we threw, there were 2 times we went for it. We probably had 3 points, but you're not going to win against a Power 4 team kicking field goals, so we tried to go for it. And we were short by a couple inches on one, threw a pick on the other, where we had a guy open, and we just, we didn't execute the block we needed to. So really, it always comes down to 3 plays a game. And if you take the interception that we threw where we had a guy pass the sticks that was open, the 4th down we didn't convert, and then the interception that we threw, it's a drastically different game. Do we pull it out? I don't know, because they were really wearing on us, and they probably could have scored an extra one at the end. But just emphasizing to guys just the importance of those little, those details being, they might seem like a small thing, but there are no small things in football, and trying to make sure that when we install and when we practice, we're always repping those different situations with our guys.
Cody, just getting back to the quarterback for a minute, the quarterback situation for a minute. Let's say everybody's playing really well Saturday, you have a comfortable lead. Does everybody play again from the quarterback situation, or are you narrowing it now?
No. Kobe's going to roll. Kobe's going to go just because he is so new, and probably the biggest unknown for Kobe is just trying to get all those operational pieces. But the guy's poised and he can play and he's thrown a lot, and I think he gives us the best chance to win in the long term right now. So you want to try and throw a lot of reps at him. So even this week, it's been a lot of Kobe in practice rather than the other guys. The other guys have kind of had to bite the bullet just so we can try and throw as many reps at him as we can. So I don't care if we're, down by 100 or up by 100. It doesn't matter. We know we got to treat it like it's an opportunity to get better at our craft. So, you'll expect Kobe to play the distance no matter what happens. We're not going to play he needs reps in our offense.
Similar question to Mark, though. Just with the other position groups, same idea, though. We're playing our ones this week, just treating it.
Yeah, our guy. We got a lot of guys that need to get better. You obviously have some savvy vets that you want to take hits off of, but that's going to be more organic between drives because I think we have some depth. You're never going into games like this thinking, oh, let's get up by a lot, and we'll take. That's the way to get your butt kicked really quick. But I think with guys like Christian Fredrickson and David Rao, where, hey, they've had a lot of mileage on there, you got to be more cognizant of, hey, 2 drives, get him a breather, 2 drives, get him a breather. And that's kind of how it went in the second half there for a couple guys, just trying to make sure that we could keep them fresh because it's a 12-game season this year. It's more games than any of our guys have ever played in college football. We don't have a single guy on our team that has played 12 games before. So we got to go out and operate.
And then final question for me. Bengals are back home this week. First game in the Dome. What's the difference playing at home?
I think playing at home and just you look at the logistical challenges of, last weekend, God bless everybody, and we're going to do whatever we have to do. But, busing to Boise, walking through, busing to Burns, Oregon, getting off the bus, busing to Bend, busing. And, it's a bummer because like some of those hamstring issues, you don't want to, it's not the bus's fault, but it certainly is a lot easier when you're on a plane for an hour and not a bus for 10. But we're in the situation we're in right now, and hopefully in the future with the one money game and, once we get into the scheduling, Pauling's done a great job of playing home and homes and not necessarily having to buy home games, that we'll have to bus less. That was that was a tough trip, And it's a lot easier when you stay home because guys can do more treatment. Guys can watch more film. You can walk through more. Guys are just in a better flow, and you don't have as many logistical challenges of, hey, we get to the hotel and their system's broken, so our guys don't get to get in the hotel room for 2 hours, so we're just sitting in the hotel lobby. I mean, that's not an ideal way to prepare for a football game, but those things happen when you go on the road. Home's a little bit more of a controlled environment, and we're in. So I think you'll have less obstacles, but there's adversity in every game, whether it's wind, injuries, loud stadiums. So you got to adapt. And I know as we continue to go on the program, hopefully we have to bust less. That's the only game we got to bust to this year, and that was a decision that I made alongside with the administration because we wanted to play a 6th home game and we needed to bus if we wanted to buy a game. So we did that because I know playing more games in front of our fans is going to be a better experience for the Bengals. I know when you play more home games, you have a better opportunity to get to the playoffs. That's just the fact. So excited to be at home for our guys to be in a routine, go out, play a great opponent in front of our home fans, because as we continue to go and hopefully we can continue to get this train rolling and fire up the local community, that those will be really fun Saturdays for everybody involved.